Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to CL's CAT channel. We continue our series on must do RC sets. Let me quickly put the chat on. Give me a thumbs up
RC
if you can
sets.
see me
Let me
and hear me,
quickly.
and then we'll start. All right. I've chosen an interesting passage with CAT level questions, and I'll show you each slide as usual for a minute. All right, let me know if you have any doubts, any questions, please put it in the chat box. All right, okay, shall we start? Let me get some notification from you that you can see me and hear me clearly. I am not able to see your chats, but that's okay. I will eventually see it. Uh, Let us start the session. All right. I have chosen a passage which is about 500 words long. I edited it to 500. This is from The Guardian or The Spectator, which are known for their critical articles. Guardian, if I remember right. All right, so again, let's start reading. The moment you have finished reading, please put done on the chat box so I know you are done reading. All right, and please respond so that I can see that you can see and hear me clearly. All right, your time starts now. All right, let me move to the next slide, and then we summarize it before we look at the questions, or we look at the first question and then I summarize it. All right, okay. All right, question 1, and then we go back to the passage. What is the primary concern of the author? Now, before we go into that, quickly tell me what is the, sorry, what is the subject of the passage? What is the subject of the passage and what is the author's overall tone of the passage. Then we look at this. All right, what is the primary concern of the author? Let's quickly read and summarize the passage. It is about gender ideology. It is about Germany passing an act which makes gender transformation change easier. Now, that's fine. I mean, people want to change the gender. What are the problems with it? The author analyzes how it poses certain problems and how people are reacting to it. All right, let's quickly summarize. Germany has gone further than most countries in failing to stand up to the relentless march of transgender ideology. All right, its Self Determination Act comes into effect. Let me just change the color to blue. Uh, all right. So, tone negative effects of Self Determination Act. Tone is actually negative, and more than that, harshly critical, not just subtly critical, harshly critical. Right, good. So, what does it say? That it has passed this Gender Determination Act, which makes it far easier for people to change gender. It enables Germans to alter their name, gender, and even have gender marker removed altogether on official records. Those who intentionally disclose someone's dead name or legal gender could face fines of up to 10,000, 8,000 pounds. All right. Number one, November 1st is a dark day for feminists. So, this obviously goes against feminists and those who fear that men will now be able to encroach upon women only public spaces. In response to this horrific situation, women have organized protests in several countries. One of the speakers was the indomitable Maya Fostetter. So, you know, Maya Fostetter is against this act. And so many groups have been fighting against the introduction of gender ideology, including transgender trend and a number of other feminist organizations. Maya Fostetter is against it, feminist organizations are against it, transgender trend is also against it. Around 1,200 people in Berlin have submitted gender change applications so far. So, can you imagine? 1,200 in Berlin alone have submitted gender change application, according to German press agency DPA. The German Trans Association has unsurprisingly hailed the law change, obviously, because it is good for transgender people. So it says gender self recognition will become more accessible and less costly. But that's not something to celebrate. Why is the author saying it's not something to celebrate? He says women will pay the price. Who are the ultimate sufferers? Who are the ultimate victims? Women. How? The Self Determination Act effectively waters down, that means it dilutes the concept of sex in law. Those who apply to change gender must still wait a period of time, but the strict requirements of two psychiatric assessments and a court hearing is not required for gender change anymore. Does this mean that any man can now declare himself a woman? Are there any proper safeguards? Let's see. What Okay, that's the question the author is asking. Answer: no. Again, more questions. What happens if women refuse to comply with this nonsense? The author calls it nonsense. Now, that shows the harshly critical tone. The prospect of a hefty fine for effectively misgendering someone is a deeply sinister one that will ultimately silence women. So the act also has a hefty fine. If you protest against it, if you tell your gender or misgender someone, then you're in trouble. And that the hefty fine will deter women, will silence women. Okay, a special UN rapporteur on violence against women says it could undermine the safety, privacy, and other human rights of women and girls, especially those affected by male violence. There are people who've been affected, there are women, their privacy, their human rights, their safety. Any man can call himself a woman, go have a gender change. That's not going to make many women feel safe or secure. That's what the author says. Yet, in spite of the criticism, Germany has opted to press ahead with the plan and ignore the worries of women. It isn't an issue confined to Berlin. In Britain, also, frontline politicians have supported gender self identification. Lobby groups have backed the rollout of legislation similar to Germany's new law. In Britain, also, things are in the pipeline. The Self Determination Act is a worrying moment for women everywhere. Why? Because there's a risk that other countries may find inspiration in this law. Now it's only Germany. Britain is very close to doing something similar. Then many other nations may find inspiration in this law. Germany has a lot of influence over what happens in the rest of Europe. If Germany does it, the rest of Europe will quickly follow, is what the author is implying. Now that the Self Determination Act is in force, trans activists and lobbyists will do their best to convince EU law and policymakers to implement similar laws elsewhere. Women and men protesting in Germany and outside embassies globally understand what is at stake. We must end this madness, says the author. Now, quickly tell which option is best captures the author's primary concern. I'll give you a minute to answer the question quickly. A, B, C, or D. Type in your answers quickly and we'll move to the next question. What is the correct answer? A, B, C, or D? What is the primary concern of the author? No minus marks here. You can mark whatever is your understanding of the main point. We read the passage, we have summarized it once, right? In the exam, make sure it happens simultaneously. All right. So, for primary concern of the author, what is the main point the author's, what is the primary or the main worry or the main complaint of the author against the entire passage is a complaint against Germany's Self Determination Act. The author has pointed out different reasons. Which one is the main one? The potential impact of Germany's Self Determination Act on the legal rights and safety. Why is the author against this? Okay, one, that other countries may follow, but is that the main point? If what is wrong if other countries follow? Because the law in itself, the author feels, is unjust to women. Why is it unjust to women? Because it compromises the rights and safety of women. Women only public spaces will now be encroached by men. So other countries following it is correct, but that's not the main point. What is wrong if other countries follow? Because the law undermines women's rights and safety in the first place. So A is the correct answer. Primary concern is the main reason the author, no, that is the primary purpose, the main reason the author has written the passage. Here, what is the main point against the act? Okay, what is the main point? Why is the author writing the passage? To say that Germany has passed a Self Determination Act. This act is against the interests of women. Why? Because it will encroach on their legal rights, on their safety, on their security. Okay, now it will lead to men encroaching on women only spaces. Yes, and in that way, it threatens the safety of women. So, this is one of the points, but this encompasses both points. It does not allow scope for women to resist or criticize the law because it comes with the hefty fine. That is true, but that is not the main point of the entire passage. You get it? Why has the author written the passage? To tell you that Germany has passed a Self Determination Act whose potential impact is terrible against women. It's going to affect the rights and safety of women. This rights and safety takes into account any point mentioned by option B, C, and D. Therefore, the correct answer is option A. Clear? Everyone? Good. Which of the following cannot be inferred from the passage? That means there are three options that can be inferred. You tell me which one cannot be inferred. Again, I'll give you a minute for the answer. The self determination, read it on your own and then answer. It lacks safeguards against abuse. It will result in greater vulnerability for women. Its decision may set a precedent and amplify the issue on a global scale, or there are deep divisions on this issue between men and women. Which one cannot be inferred? 12 participants and only one answer. Not fair. Lots of likes if you like the session. That I'll ask you only at the end of it, but I want at least 10 to 12 answers keyed in for this. Which one cannot be inferred? You have 20 seconds to key in your answers. Commit yourself to an answer. See how it is. See if you're right or wrong. There is no minus marking here, right? So, has the author said that it doesn't have safeguards against abuse? The last line of the first paragraph, yes, he says it. So, this can be inferred. It will make women more vulnerable, yes. Okay, it may set a precedent and other countries may follow it, yes. But which one doesn't work? There are deep divisions. There are deep divisions between feminists and trans and other groups, but he didn't say men and women. There are some men also who are protesting against it. All right, therefore D cannot be inferred, and that is our correct answer. Excellent. All right. Next one. What is an assumption implicit in the author's argument? So think of the author's main point, which is his main argument, that this new act is against women. It compromises on the safety and security and rights of women. And the author is also worried that Germany is doing it today, other countries will follow suit, right? So, what is the assumption? What is the author taking for granted when he makes these claims? That is an assumption, right? So, which one of these is an implicit assumption in the author's main key points? What is he taking for granted? What is the basis of his argument? That is, though it is not openly stated, but what is the basis on which all the entire argument rests? That is the implicit assumption. Okay, men have no objections to the Self Determination Act. The Self Determination Act is inherently risky for women. Give me the question number when you give your answer. Okay, all right. The issues surrounding gender identity are universally understood. Then he is raising objections. Is it that no safeguards are necessary for individuals changing their gender? You need safeguards against it. Do you think when people who are changing their gender, do they need, I mean, how are you going to interpret the question? Nubesh says it's B. LB says it's B. Yes, it is B. Now, he has not said all men have no objections. Certain men may not have, but there's certain trans groups which have unfortunately no objections. The issues surrounding gender identity are uh, the people are generally welcoming it, but whether it's universally everybody understands it, the author has not said or implied it. He did not at any point say he has said we need more safeguards, okay, both for individuals changing their gender and overall the Gender Discrimination Act. So this also cannot be an assumption. Therefore the correct answer is B, and you are all correct. Second question, abuse wasn't directly mentioned. Second question, where is the second question? There is abuse of the law, Nubesh, that law can be abused, misused. Abuse here means misuse of the act. So that has been implied, right? Misuse of the act. Only if there is misuse of the gender change can it be a threat to women's security, right? Women only public places, you have somebody who has changed his gender and comes there, so women would feel uncomfortable, some would feel insecure, especially people who face violence against men. So that abuse he's talking about, abuse of the law. It doesn't have safeguard. The last line of this paragraph, see, proper safeguards on a person changing their gender back. Are there any proper safeguards on a person changing their gender back? Okay, does this mean any man can declare that he is a woman? And what happens if people feel it could undermine the safety, privacy, and other human rights? Only when the law is abused will all the threats come about, right? So that is why it's implied. All right. Question 3, we've got B as the answer. Question 4. Which of the following, if true, could most weaken the author's claim? So these are hypothetical statements. You assume if the statement was true, would it go against the author's claim or not? You have to assume that this would be true. If this is true, will it weaken the author's argument or not? Okay, so what is the correct answer? I'll again give you about 45 seconds to a minute. Okay, look at all the options. See, it says most weaken. So you have to look at one which weakens it maximum or goes against the author's main point. Question 4. Quickly give me your answers. Key in your answers. Another 10 seconds. Is it A, B, C, or D? Weaken. What is the author's main argument? Why is the author against the Gender Self Determination Act? He says that women will be the victims, women will suffer, their safety, their rights will be hampered. Other nations might also follow, so this issue will become global. So, will this weaken? Numerous nations have passed similar laws without major adverse effects on women. Okay, maybe, but maybe the similar laws had some provisions which safeguarded the women, which this doesn't have. So, this does not uh, he does make a point that Germany would set a precedent for other nations to follow, and so instead of just Germany and Britain, this becomes a global issue. True. But what is his main argument? Why is he against the Self Determination Act? Because he feels it's against women. It's a threat. It's a potential threat to their safety, their rights. Correct? Therefore, when you say other nations have passed, many other nations, if true, right? So you have to assume that this hypothetical statement is true. So if many nations have passed similar laws to the Gender Determination Acts and they haven't had much negative effects of women, it would weaken the author's claim, but not 100%. Because what do you mean by similar laws? Maybe the similar laws have safeguards which this particular act is lacking, right? So that, and the author's main point is that major adverse effects. What do you mean by major adverse effects? That word is also vague. That means they've had adverse effects. And what do you consider major? What do you consider minor? it makes women vulnerable, right? It is affecting women's safety and security. Even if I just feel afraid, that also is affecting me. So this doesn't weaken a large portion. So what if the public backs it, saying, yeah, this is good for job? Just because the public backs it does not make it a correct act. The author has not said it's unpopular and most people oppose it. The author's main point is that people, it could be a threat to women. And here you say, no, listen, the gender change, the men who change their gender to women would not be a threat to women's safety. They will not encroach women's only spaces. The author is afraid. So if you say that they are not a threat, and if the statement is true, it weakens the author's main points. Okay. There is increased awareness of gender identity does not make it in any way safer. Right? Therefore, the correct answer is C. All right. Question 5. Which of the following courses of action is the author most likely to support? You know his main point. Quickly, in 1 minute, decide which one do you think the author will support. They look close, but which one do you think is the author enthusiastically going to say, yeah, this is the best? Delete the punitive clause, the clause which says you'll get a, if you misgender somebody, you will be slapped with a hefty fine. So the would he agree to delete that? He's saying women would be silenced with, because of the fear of the clause. So do you think this he would support most? Or is it this, call for international action against Germany? Despite people protesting, government Germany has gone against the law. So do you think the author would agree with the international community taking action against Germany for passing this law despite so many protests? Or would he or she ensure that the act is not passed in other countries, because that's also his worry, right? That today Germany, tomorrow England, and next all EU countries. Or would the author support implement stricter safeguards for gender change applications? Which course of action would he support most? Quickly give me the answers: A, B, C, or D. A is correct, because author is saying it will silence women, but the act by itself is not going to go away anyway. The act is still there. Okay, the main root cause of trouble is there. International action against Germany, but German women will suffer. And do, is this practical? This is an extreme suggestion, not practical. Do people take international action because the country passed a law? Here they're not able to take action against Israel. And how will the international community act against Germany for passing a gender identity self determination act? I mean, it's the author's main concern is that gender change has become easier, far easier, and therefore they, that he says that they're not enough safeguards been done in a hurry. So if you have enough safeguards, enough scrutiny of gender change applications, that will take care of his main fear of such gender change uh, acts would happen in other countries and make women more vulnerable. So, if you have safeguards, if you make sure that a person really wants to change his gender for the right reasons, not because he wants to harass someone, then that would be that will put all fears at rest. Therefore, D is the correct answer. Because finally, the author says women's safeguard. There are no strict safeguards, so women's privacy, women's rights, all are being infringed upon. All right. Why are feminists opposing the gender ideology? Gender ideology is people have a right to determine their own gender, self determination. So, why are feminists opposing it? What is the reason? The belief that the issue of gender identity is anti feminist, A, or the threat. gender ideology poses to women's rights and safety. B. C. The fact that gender ideology is patriarchal in nature. It's skewed against women, so it's more favoring men. Gender ideology sweeps women's issues under the carpet. It literally ignores women, their rights, their misgivings, their problems. So, which is the main reason for feminists to oppose gender ideology? Quickly give me your answer. The belief that issue of gender identity, just because it is anti-feminist, is that the reason they are against it? No, the threat it poses to women's rights and safety. In every way, women have become more vulnerable. This is the correct answer. It is patriarchal in nature, but that's not the main reason women are protesting against it. It does ignore women's issues, but again, that is not the main reason. The main reason is they believe that self determination, the ideology of gender self determination, is a threat to women's rights and security. All right, therefore, B is the correct answer. All right, easy. The passage read a little difficult, but we answered six reasoning based questions and did a good job. Any questions? Any doubts? Any questions? Any doubts? All right, I will see you again next Saturday at the same time for one more RC passage. We will look at past year passages from next week. Uh, Pick up key RC passages which have appeared in CAT in the past years and solve them. All right, I will see you again very soon. Bye bye.